Welcome to True Demon Lord Show. I am the True Demon Lord Franco, and today we're going to be looking at 5 underrated Chaos Demon units. So these are 5 units that I feel maybe go under the radar a bit, though saying that, I think they're getting in the forefront a bit more. Whether they're entering lists of like some top players that are jumping on demons for an event or two, lists like players like myself who play demons at a fairly high level. They're lists, they're units that you're starting to see pop into lists. Some units that maybe we already know are fairly good, that maybe don't see as much play as they could. So hopefully this is something that can point you towards some units that maybe if you use things like BCP to base your lists off of, you kind of, I don't want to say net list, but use those as ideas when making a list. And maybe these are units that you're not going to see too common, so maybe they're not something that might do your head as much. And so I'm going to give you a bit of a rundown of each unit and just tell you why I think it is underrated and why I think it could definitely lend itself to maybe coming into your list, maybe plugging in a gap or filling a hole that you might have. So before we get into that, we are going to start with the normal preamble. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. If you enjoy this content, it's much highly appreciated, obviously, and it helps me grow, allows me to get out more of these videos to yourselves. Keep up to date with Facebook, Instagram, to keep up to date with all of our uploads. And then we have just started with our Facebook, YouTube members. Not something to feel pressured into joining, but it is there as the option is now available. And if you want to support the channel further and then gain some cool perks and benefits, then you can, and it would be massively appreciated. But if you don't want to, that is also completely fine. So let's get straight into it. We are going to start with the Mask of Slanesh. So I love the mask. She's awesome. I liked her for quite a while. And then I started running her for quite a bit, about over the summertime, about June, July, August, and LGT in September. And I think she's brilliant. So she's a lone up, so can only be targeted by range attacks within 12 inches. Meaning, if you want to use her for early secondaries where she has to survive, like sabotage or recover, by just popping her out of your deployment zone, then she can do. And a lot of the time, your opponent either can't commit to it, or if they do, then they're going to lose a key unit to do so, which might not be a good trade for them. So that's really nice. She also advances in charges or fullbacks in charges, which is quite handy. It allows her to keep up with things she kind of wants to keep up with. She's also got fights first, which is something not to sleep on. 6 attacks at strength, 4 -1, 2 damage. Means that if your opponent wants to target her with something like a small, I don't know, 5-man squads, things like striking scorpions or marines, they might still get her, but the chance that she has to put a massive dent or even a roll high, especially with death wounds, and maybe kill the unit or kill them to the point where maybe they struggle to kill her, is also just something your opponent has to think about, and it's really, really nice. So it keeps her a little bit safe. And of course, she's got a 4-up and 4 wounds. She moves 9 inches, but her real strength is in her Eternal Dance ability. So she picks an enemy unit at the start of the fight phase. It doesn't have to be visible. That means she can sit behind a wall, or sit behind a unit like the Great Unclaimer, for example, because, he's going to be quite hidden behind Fat Boy, but still be able to pick the enemy unit. And then anytime a model in that unit makes an attack, they subtract 1 from the wound roll. This doesn't matter what they target. So if they're targeting the Great Unclaimer, for example, which now makes him incredibly hard to kill, I've used that to combat Angron, because Angron can get plus on the wound from a strat and allow the Great Unclaimer to survive. Use it on any allied Chaos Knights you might have, like War Dogs, like Carnivores and stuff like that. So really, really strong. And then obviously on Blood Crushers, it's amazing. On any of your big guys, it helps them survive, especially your keepers who are also very tough. And then the other ability that it has is anytime a Slaneshi unit targets that enemy unit, they get +1 to wound. So this will allow your things like your keepers to punch up, because obviously strength 8, strength 6. The keeper, while being amazingly tough and great into those mid-range elite units, and struggle into tanks and vehicles and T9 plus. By getting that +1 to wound to now be wounding on 4s in general is really, really nice. Also great on fiends, again, strength 5, 2 damage, have wounds, being able to up that by winning on 5s or winning on 4s in some cases. Again, just makes them pretty a little bit more punchy, pretty nice, or much nicer than they already are. So that's also very, very good. So we have spoken about the mask in our low knot focus video where we did show Ace how get the best out of this ability. So go check that out. But yeah, so I think the mask is fantastic for 85 points. A low knot that can advance and charge, so she can keep up with all of her units. She wants to kind of be ultra buffing like your keepers and your fiends. But then also just as a defensive piece to protect things like blood crushers, the great unclean ones, your other big monsters, etc., etc. So the mask super super solid. We definitely, well, I mean, we saw her at LGT in a few lists like Manny Chima's list, which done very very well. I was running her for quite a long while, and you see her pop up a bit more than you used to, but still probably not as much as you could. Definitely a unit you want to get connects in though. You want to know exactly where to place her, because if you place her in the wrong position, she'll get picked off and killed quite easy. Maybe sometimes you got to know when to sacrifice her, like the right time to go forward with, say, a keeper of secrets or a couple of keepers of secrets. Because again, this is a buff or an ability goes on the enemy unit. If you have two keepers hitting that chosen unit, both of them will benefit from the plus on the wound. It's not just one of your unit. So really, really good. Excuse me. So, speaking of keepers, the next unit I believe is severely underrated is the Keeper of Secrets. Now, again, we see her pop up here and there. And I do feel like we're starting to see her pop up a bit more, but I've been running her again since LGT, or just a little bit before LGT, and I absolutely swear by her. We recently went 5-0 at the Coventry Major. She was a massive part of it, so check out my Coventry 5-0 recap. You know, plug in all these previous videos, but you know, you can get a sense of the kind of things she can do where I talk about her in those games. But she's absolutely amazing. And outside of the endless gift great unclean one, the Keeper of Secrets, like even just the standard Keeper of Secrets is our toughest monster by a bit, like even tougher than a standard great unclean one. So toughest 10, 18 wounds, 4 up in one, and they are always -1 to hit. Now, again, we're going to plug another previous video, but we talked about our greater demon war gear, like what to give your greater demons, what war gear options to choose on them. We spoke about the keeper. Go check that out if you want to go and see what I believe are the best options for your greater demons as far as their war gear goes. But you always hit the Shining Ages on the keeper. 5-4 no pain is infinitely better than a range attack or than a few extra combat attacks. So, 4 up in one, 5 up for no pain, -1 to hit, T10, 18 wounds. She's insanely tough. And the amount of times, especially at Coventry for myself in those last 2 games, where she just tanked like a massive go turn and allowed me to hold down important units and be able to go get them. Her attacks back, able to do damage. Yeah, just really, really good. And then her in combat, she's got 6 attacks with her Wit Stealer Sword at strength 8 -3 damage, and 4 attacks at strength 6 -3 damage dev wounds on her claws. So she's obviously got her +1 AP aura for Sineshi units within 6 inches, which benefits herself, hence why her combat attacks are AP3. But making things like Fiends -3 is really, really good. Making even Demonettes -2 is nice. Making Shalaxi -4, -3 is really, really good. And then if you combine her with Grant Terror, she now becomes -4 on her attacks. She's starting to cut through elite infantry like they're nothing. She's very good at killing Wraithguard, Custodes, all those type of D3 or 3 wound or even 2 wound models. She can punch up a bit. I've had her go in and kill tanks on occasion, but sometimes she struggles and she sits there for a bit. But even if she runs into something, grabs it, and then takes an objective off it or blocks something in, that's still very, very good. And of course, she's got her Slaneshi Shadow Bubble, so she can spit out other keepers, spit out fiends, spit out Shalaxi, etc., etc. So yeah, just overall, and with a 14-inch movement, she can advance and charge if you really want. Shooting attack, she's got the Phantasmagoria, which is like a mini version of Bellacor's Betraying Shade, so 9 shots, strong 6, -2, 1 damage, dev wounds on its focus profile. Not too shabby, not bad at maybe chipping some wounds off, especially in combination with Bellicor shooting and maybe Shalaxi shooting if you've got her about. So yeah, the keeper is really, really good. I can't shut up about how much I actually love the Keeper of Secrets, and she's going to be coming to Worlds in Atlanta with me. She's amazing. We didn't even talk about Soul Stealer. You know, the enhancement for 15 points. Every time she kills models in combat on a 3+, she gets wounds back. And now she just becomes an absolute pain in the butt to deal with. And especially if you remember it, because I have a really bad habit of forgetting it in the games where it almost matters, like she survives by like just a wound or 2 wounds. And I'm like, she actually would have had like 4, 5, 6 wounds at that point. But yeah, it's just really tough and a real pain to deal with. So the next unit we are going to be talking about is the Skull Cannon. So the Skull Cannon is not the best unit ever. Actually, when I took it a while ago, I was actually quite surprised with how much it impressed me, and I actually think they're pretty decent. So Skull Cannon is T9, 9 wounds, what, Invuln, and an OC of 3, so not bad for backfield objective holding or pushing forward a little bit if you needed to. It's got D6 plus 2 shots at strength 9 -1 to damage. So a 48-inch range. And it is blast as well. So it's not a bad shooting profile. It's not the best ever. It's not bad for an army that might lack a little bit of long range. It definitely looks a lot of long range shooting power because we do. This can give you it if you want some. It's also got 2 bloodletters on it and some extra 2 damage attacks from the actual chariot itself. So it's not too bad in combat. Now, its ability, Skulls of the Fallen, is actually quite nice. So after it's finished shooting, you pick the unit it's shot at, as long as it hit it, and that unit has to take a battle shock test. So obviously, if the unit is in your deployment zone, or in your Shadows Chaos, they're going to be at -1 to that battle shock test, and they will take D3 mortal wounds if they fail. So that's not bad. Now, if you're only taking 1, never rely on this. That's more of a bonus ability. Like never build your turn's game plan around that. Because if you're going to do that, you're going to take multiple of them for redundancy. So if you're now taking 2 to 3 of them, now you can actually make that a bit of a game plan. And the reason why that's pretty good, you can use it to stop things like, certain strategy moves. So if, say, for example, you want to charge a unit that's on an objective with, say, Blood Crushers or some Great Demons or whatever, your opponent has set up a unit behind a bit of terrain nearby so they can heroic in, and that unit's quite a nasty unit or just has a lot of tough OC. If you're able to get a Skull Cannon around, whether it's moving it to get into position or being able to drop it, with Denizens of the Warp, so it can drop down 3 or more inches away and get into a gap, and then being able to ping this off of it. Now, again, you want multiple of these for redundancy if you can. If you're able to force that battle shock and make the opponent fail it, that unit can no longer use any stratagems because it's battle shocked. Can't heroically intervene anymore. That now allows you to just hit that objective and not have to worry about it. If you want to charge into 2 separate big threats in combat, and you don't want to have to worry about losing one of your units, for example, say you charge Talaxi into one unit and a Blood Crush unit into the other unit. If you really want to be careful and not have to worry about an interruption, after you fought with one of the units, firing a few Skull Cannons at one of the units to force the battle shock test, obviously the one that's most likely to fail. Maybe they have different leaderships, shoot at the one with the higher leadership. And then that way you don't have to worry about interruptions anymore. Now, something else as well is being able to hit a unit if you get, say, cleanse or storm hostile objective, and you just need to take that objective. Being able to force those battle shocks on the enemy unit, they might, if they fail the battle shock turns, they become OC0. So now if you get any units onto that objective, whether you like Denizens of the Warp on, then you can start cleansing, etc., etc. That will also allow you to take the action and score the points, or the storm hostile take the objective, score the points. Just be aware that if the unit isn't under half strength in your opponent's command phase, they will just become unbattle shocked. So you can't rely on that to stop your opponent holding objectives. unless they are already under half strength, whatever. But yeah, so just really, really good. And again, one of the biggest things for demon lists, as you know, as a lot of us demon players will be able to feel this, is when you deploy, your opponent will generally go, "Oh, like your shooting isn't long range, or you haven't really got much in the way of any kind of shooting, so I can kind of deploy where I want." By having a couple skull cannon just placed down, your opponent now can't just deploy whatever they want on the line. They've actually got to be like, "Oh, I probably need to hide a little bit because double skull cannons pinging can actually spike and maybe wipe out a 5-man unit or something like that." So yeah, like I think skull cannons are great. When I ran them, when I ran the one, I actually came out of it surprised. Like it didn't blow me away, but also I was like, I actually didn't hate it. I actually liked it. Um, and I can definitely see where 2 to 3 of them now actually becomes quite viable for 95 points. For the base size they're on, the same size base as the Bloodthirster, so they've got good screening. And like we said, T9 with 9 wins and 4 up Invuln is a good tough profile. OC3, they're good for holding the backfield if you want them to. Yeah, I really like them. They give you a good bit of long range shooting. It's not the best ever, but it's not terrible. And then if you're taking multiple of them, now you can start to actually build that whole battle shock thing into your game plan a bit more than you would if you only took one. So yeah, I really like the Skull Cannon. Pretty good. So I mean, for someone that doesn't really like core much, we've got another core unit. This time we're going and looking at the Demon Prince with wings, more specifically the Corn Demon Prince. So I feel like Demon Princes get a bit of a bad rap, and probably rightfully so. They're not the best ever, but I feel like there's a little bit of use with the Prince with wings. More specifically, again, the Corn Prince with wings. They're actually not bad little beat stick monsters. So T9, 10 wounds, 2 up armor, which is quite like unheard of for demon players. We've got a unit that has an armor save better than its invuln. We don't have much of that. So 2 plus armor save, which is pretty nice, and a 4 plus invulnerable save, 33. So they've got a little bit of like being able to battle on objectives with OC. And then obviously you're going to make it corn. So now the strength of his full forward weapons go up by 2. So, its strike profile is now 6 attacks, hit on 2s at strength 10, minus 2/3 damage. Not a bad little profile. And it can sweep for 14 attacks, hitting on 2s at strength 8, no AP 1 damage. That's a bit of a crap profile. Unless you're into things that have bad saves, like GSC or Guard, units like that, Cultists, those type of units. Not the best ever. Also got 3 strength 5, minus 1/2 damage shots at 24-inch range. Yeah, I guess okay. You can use it to chip something, or maybe kill the last guys in a like 2 or 3 last dudes in a 5-man squad or something like that. Now once per game, it can kind of go into a rage mode and get 3 extra attacks in combat in the fight phase. So now you've got 9 attacks on your strikes or 17 attacks on your sweep. And then every fight phase, you can pick one of 3 abilities to affect his combat attack. So similar to like the Lord of Change can do with his Bolt of Zinch. So you can either choose lethals, which is okay, but I don't think you're really ever going to go with lethals unless you're really smacking into something that's really high toughness, like T12. Even then, it's okay. I don't think you really go with that one. Precision, which again is very niche. You're not going to choose it often, but if you draw Assassinate and your Demon Prince is the only one you really want to throw out to go for it, or the only one in a position to get it, going into like a small character in a unit, not bad to save you some CP. Or if you want to kill multiple characters in a turn, you can use Precision here and then spend a CP on another character to get it with Epic Challenge. Or Sustained Hits 1, which is the one that you pretty much always go for unless you need the Precision. So having 6 attacks or 9 attacks on your big attacks if you go into rage mode is pretty good. Now we're going to look at it with Argath, which is the Corn enhancement. So yes, is a Bloodthirster with Argath better? Yes, but we are looking at a 125 point difference. A Bloodthirster with Argath is 325 points. A Corn Prince with Wings and Argath is 200 points. So it is a massive, massive point gap, a good bit of savings. Is he as good? No, but also he's pretty good. We've already given you all these profiles. he isn't always in the shadows like the Bloodthirster is, so he will always just have the +1 strength and attacks on his melee weapon. So his strike profile basic now will be 7 attacks at strength 11 -2/3 damage. In the shadows, it'd be 8 attacks at strength 12 -2/3 damage. Not bad. Now you can get Be'lakor or another Corn Demon like Scarbrand, or maybe even a Bloodthirster within range to boost that shadows up. I'm giving Sargath, or even just get natural shadows but taking half of the objectives in the middle, or taking your opponent's home objective if you're in your opponent's deployment zone. Um, and again, yeah, combining that with sustained hits, this guy can actually now start putting up a lot of good damage. Um, so yeah, pretty good beat stick. Is he as good as a Thirster? Probably not, but he's a lot smaller. He doesn't have to rotate because he's on a circular base. Um, he's, like we said, smaller footprint, so can hide a little bit easier. And 125 points less. You don't mind throwing this guy forward, doing the job, smashing into something, and then dying. It was a lot less painful than when you do it with a Bloodthirster, because the Bloodthirster will just die. This guy slightly less tougher than the Bloodthirster because he's got obviously 8 less wounds and 2 less toughness, but better armor save. So Bloodthirster only has a 4+ armor save, where the Demon Prince has a 2+ armor save, so not bad. So I like this guy as a little kind of beat stick missile just to launch forward, hit an objective, or maybe get you an assassinate or hit something um, T10, T11, maybe even T12, and being able to just, nuke it and then die. Because again, that's a little bit of dedication to get rid of. So yeah, pretty decent. And then we're going to end on the Flux Master, which is your Zinch Herald on disc. So we've spoken about him in the Zinch list, how to build a competitive list Zinch focus. His T4, 4 wounds, 4 up invuln, 12-inch movement, can attach to pink horrors or blue horrors, though if you attach them to blue horrors, they lose infiltrate. But when he attaches to the unit, he makes it -1 to hit. Really, really solid, especially in the pink horrors. Now they're already a bit of a pain in the butt and a target anyway. And now he just makes them harder to deal with. And the weakness of pink horrors is if your opponent has a unit like breaches for Tau, where they can just put out a crap ton of shots and get some rerolls and they hit really well and they wound really well, they're just going to overwhelm you. But having that -1 to hit, that actually might be the difference between your whole unit getting wiped out and not being able to split, and having 1 to 2 guys left over and now being allowed to split still. So pretty nice little buff. But what I really like about him is his altered reality ability, which is basically a once per battle round fate or miracle dust mechanic where he can change one of his hit rolls, wound rolls, or saving throws to a 6. So if you drop him down on his own to do some actions, you can maybe potentially keep him around by being able to change one of his invuln rolls to a 6. Um, or you just fire his arcane fireball on its focus profile, which is 3 shots of strength 6 -2 d3 damage, devastating wounds. You roll your hits and then you roll your wounds, and any wound roll that isn't a 6 to proc the dev wounds, you just use altered reality, turn it to a 6. You're going to get hopefully, as long as you're going to hit, a minimum like D3 mortal wounds a turn from him at 18-inch range. And basically like Old Smite from 9th edition, so being able to just boom, D3 mortal wounds. There is even a potential to get 2 D3 mortal wounds if you manage to get a couple hits, and then manage to naturally roll one of the 6s, then you can just change the other roll to a 6, 2 D3 mortal wounds. If you really spike and you get 2 6, you hit with all 3 of them, you get 2 6s on the wound rolls, you can then just switch it to switch the third one to a 6. Now you got 3d3 mortal wounds. Not very likely, but there is some kind of potential that it could happen. This guy is good for just like knocking the last wounds off of something, or really just weakening something down so you can hit it if it's really tough. For 60 points, I think he's a good little bargain. So yeah, so they're 5 units I think that are a little bit underrated. Units that I would definitely take a look at if I was you. And maybe they could fit into your list, like maybe you're lacking some way to kind of punch through good armor, good invuns. The Flux Master helps. Maybe you want just a beat stick unit that you can kind of just throw and not care about because the Bloodbath is just dying and it's losing too many points. The Demon Prince fits in nicely. Maybe you want to go down the route I'm kind of going down at the moment and go with a more resiliency. Keepers, mask as well, and then if you want to loan up to kind of do yourself some like easier like to survive actions, again the mask does that very well. So yeah, let me know if you test any of these units out and you like them, or if there's any units you feel that are underrated that you really like. I'm always interested to hear how everyone is getting on. Yeah, and like we said at the beginning of the video, please leave a like and subscribe. It helps massively if you enjoyed the content. It helps me keep going. Join new membership if you want to contribute further and then gain some awesome benefits and perks in addition with that. Things like getting videos early, having a say in what videos you want to see, maybe in certain series. You can pick in what order we go about it. Have a say in some of my tournament lists, especially after December. I can't talk about it too deeply, but we might be getting something to help us out a little bit in December. And I'm very, very, very excited, more so than usual, to get out there and play more events and have a bit more fun with my lists. So you will have a say in the type of lists that I run. Maybe even what units I want to run or I'm going to be running if you want to see me run certain type of units. As well as access to membership only videos and even membership only live streams, which we will be starting once we get enough people in the memberships. So I want to start getting that tested out and trying those live shows. So yeah, so thank you for tuning in. Keep up to date with Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all things True Demon Lord. And we will catch you all in the next one.